Okay, welcome back to Kevin's Show Work. We're going to be working on PR11w 23 to 33. Okay, number 23, we have a verb here, right? It's kind of asking, is it present? Is it present perfect, right? Future or past perfect? The way to determine whether it's present perfect or regular present, because if we look here, it's present here, right? If we look here, it's also present. So we know it has to be some kind of present tense. And the way to determine that is if something is happening now, let's say right here, something is happening now, right? And something has been happening sometime in the past, okay, along this line, and it's still continuing to happen, okay, this you would use present perfect. So here it says, over the last 2 decades, there are a number of studies that have shown a strong correlation between the rise of fast food restaurants in the US and the rise of obesity. Because it says over the last 2 decades, it means since 2 decades ago, right, till now, there are all these studies. So it's still connected to the present. So here, because of this clue, we can choose B. Anytime you see words like since 1990, or already, that's a big clue for the present perfect. 24. Which choice most effectively reinforces the definition of fast casual given earlier in the paragraph? So here, what is the definition of fast casual, right? Here it says fast casual. It's difficult to define, but refers to restaurants that offer traditional quick preparation and counter service of fast food at a slightly higher price point with a focus on fresh, high quality ingredients. So we're looking for something along these lines. Okay, right here, this is what we're looking for in the answer choice. Here, are still cheaper than going to a sit-down restaurant. This does not talk about sit-down restaurants. It says it's more expensive than counter service fast food, but it doesn't talk about sit-downs. So we can cross that out. It emphasizes the higher quality and freshness of their ingredients. Yeah, it says right here, focus on fresh, high quality ingredients. Do they serve salads as well as burgers and fries? Maybe, but we don't know, right? May contribute to obesity epidemic? Maybe, but we don't know. It doesn't say here, right? So the correct answer here is B. All right, let's go to number 25. The chain grew quickly, driven by customers who were attracted to its blah, 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 blah. All right, so here the subject is chain, grew is the verb. What about here? It's period, so we know that this is a new sentence. Driven by customers who were and the sentence ends right here. There is no subject, there is no verb. All we see here is a past participle. Okay? One of the ways to combine a past participle is with a comma, C. Okay? If you have a semicolon, that means there's a subject verb and subject verb on both sides, but we said there's no subject verb on this side, so we can get rid of that. Here the correct answer is C. The reason why it's not this, okay, is that because it's a past participle, we can actually, the subject, right, what is being driven by customers? It's the chain, right? So here, the chain is being driven. So because the subject is the same, using a trailing phrase with a past participle is the better option. Number 26. At this point, the writer is considering adding the following sentence. Okay, so again, when they do that, look at the sentence before, right? And again, don't be lazy. turn the page, right? You want to look at the sentence after. But let's just see what this is about. It is somewhat unclear where the term fast casual came from. Two different people are generally credited with coining the term. Okay, so it's about people who are credited with coining the term, right? Here it talks about fast casual's focus on why high quality ingredients is working, right? That's not talking about coining the term, so we don't have to look at this. So if we look back, let's see if it connects with what happened before it. Many within the fast food industry took notice. McDonald's even became a major investor, and the fast casual movement was born. It's talking about how the fast casual movement was born. This is talking about who came up with the term, right? Who came up with the term fast casual? So I don't think this is something that it needs to be added, right? Because it's not talking about how it was born. Even though it seems like it, because it's like, well, what about the name? Who came up with the name? But this is more talking about how it was born, not the actual term itself, and not about who to give credit to, right? So here, D is the correct answer because it's introducing a figure. It distracts from the paragraph's main idea because it introduces a figure whose role in the movement is unclear, and that's this guy, right? Like, why do we care about this guy? Okay, number 27. Okay, here it says, okay, spending in the restaurant business declined for 2 unbending years. When we talk about 2 years, here we're talking about 2 straight years. Okay, number 28. This is a transition, right? And if it's a transition, we like to look at, again, the sentence that comes before and the sentence that comes after, right? And in the sentence that came before, it says business declined for 2 years, right? But here, during the same period, fast casual business grew by double digits, right? Growing versus declining, right? This is a contrast. D is a contrasting transition. Number 29, okay. Let's look at what the subject and verb of this sentence is, right? McDonald's, which is now a competitor of Chipotle. Okay, this is here a modifier. Having sold its interest in the burrito business, and you can tell that there's another comma here, right? So this is also another modifier. We have a relative pronoun phrase, and then we have a participle phrase, both of which are modifiers, right? Announced recently. Because there is a verb here, these 2 modifiers work. Okay, and modifiers must be beset with commas. Okay, they from their buns. Here it's talking about a possessive of buns, right? So we need something like their, right? That's possessive. But that's possessive plural. We got to see what is they referring to. And if we read the sentence from here, it says, this comes after the company recently eliminated high fructose corn syrup from their buns. Whose buns? The company's. Company is actually singular, right? So we can choose D. Remember, IT' is it is. Okay, number 31. Is that right? Yeah. Number 31. Here it's another transition word, therefore. So we're going to read what happens before and what happens after. Right? While the move to cage-free eggs has the potential to make a big impact on how chicken farms are run, it does nothing to address one of the bigger problems of fast food, right? So it's talking about some kind of bigger problem of fast food. Its lack of nutritional value. Okay, this is an example, right? It's an example of a problem. So we can get rid of therefore because that's cause and effect. Okay, we can get rid of indeed. So now we're stuck with for instance, which is an example. So is specifically, but specifically it's talking about a particular example. Right? This is one particular example. This is the reason why you can choose D. Number 32. Okay, critics also question whether increasingly fast casual restaurants are actually healthy. Okay, number one, first thing here is that this is not a question. Okay, questions start off usually with words like who, where, when, what, why, how, right? So we can get rid of that. Another thing you'll notice is there's this word increasingly. Okay, and in the answer choice, this word keeps moving around. Increasingly is an adverb. Okay, adverbs, they like to describe verbs. And if they're going to describe verbs, they must be next to verbs, right? So here, this one is next to the verb question, right? The subject here is critics, verb is question. So question is the verb. Okay, if we label all three of those. Here, there's an extra word in between, so we can get rid of C. And as you said before, it's not a question, right? So we can get rid of the question mark, which leaves us with D. Remember, adverbs are always next to the verb. It can be behind or in front, but it must be next to. Last question, 33. But change is slowly coming. All right? This actually is okay. It's not informal. It's not too formal. It's just right. All these others mean the same thing, but they're too long. If they all mean the same thing and the tone is correct, choose the shortest. All right, that's it for this section. Hopefully that helped.